Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Let me see. I think that worked this time. I'm just gonna make sure before I start everything. Technology just killed me. It's telling me I didn't have permission when I know I paid them my monies. That ain't good. Okay, let me see. That ain't good. Okay, and we live. So we starting here today. I'm by myself, D Black Anglo Saxon. Inquisitive Q
What's up, y'all?
joins me now right in the nick of time. Goddamn, that's perfect timing.
No, it ain't. I'm late. I'm late.
No, the technology kept us behind. It was telling me I didn't have permission, and I had to make sure that my account and everything was good. But
You sure?
yeah, we good, man. We good.
Sure?
We live action now.
You got
So today we will be talking about it is our impromptu show. Tomorrow we are still going to have our regularly scheduled content, and we'll be talking about the Julian Assange case and what that means for media in the future, and not just journalism. But today we will be talking about. I was about to say you might as well. Today we will be talking about Breonna Taylor along with Tory Lanez, and then ADHD on the back end of that. And I'm gonna make it make sense in terms of why I framed it in that way. Is because we have a situation or situations where we constantly ask what the solution is, and we are talking about, Breonna Taylor, and we have a lot of things going on within the current situation and everything right now in terms of whether it be the pandemic, whether it be the eviction crisis, whether it be a myriad of things that are going on right now that should, what I feel like, take precedent over this publicity stunt that Tory Lanez has,
I love
put
that.
on. I hate it because
you said Tory Lanez.
Yeah, I love
That's it.
Because it's lame in what he's doing.
Get me a glass.
Go ahead, get your glass. I'm gonna go ahead and set the frame in terms of what we're talking about. But while he is going ahead to do that, can everybody who is tuned in with us right now, can you like the video, share if you can, so that everybody can join in on the conversation. The actual link to call in on the show is on my Facebook. You can go to our IG, that information, as well as the check in there, and the link in bio is also there in terms of being able to access the content. But with your return, sir, I'll just go ahead and get started. And with that being said, today I'm going to start it off with Breonna Taylor because I wanted to have a singular conversation around that in respect to not muddying it with the smut talk from Tory Lanez and just everything around the whole scenario that is America. And so what I wanted to do first was bring up this article from Complex that I had come across, just so everybody can understand like what's happening. I'm not necessarily sure for those who haven't, caught up or have been following the case. What has happened is it started out as a tragic situation with a no-knock warrant that was issued. When it first happened, we didn't necessarily have all of the details. As we stand now, apparently there was two boyfriends. The first one that they are saying that is involved with drugs. She isn't actually with him currently.
She wasn't.
She wasn't. And so there's this hodgepodge of information. There's this hodgepodge of, media being presented in a way to spin it. But what I'll say in regard to it is that I think despite, whatever conjecture people are putting onto the situation, as we all have the right to do that, given the distrust that has been placed within us by American media. So I completely understand, but I would like to say that, and by no means, she should be dead at this point. As we've seen a number of results, a number of situations where it's been more intense. And to my knowledge, again, with the extra information that was given to us, we now see that there is one witness who has just come about to apparently say that um, they did hear them announce themselves, which again, there's just been a lot of information, a lot of it, going against the previous information. Because as we know, the boyfriend was supposed to sign a plea deal, which would criminate Breonna Taylor in the process of it.
Wasn't going to do it.
Yes, exactly. And so we have this crazy, crazy situation. But I want to, again, none of the cops were indicted for the actual murder of Breonna Taylor. And I wanted to just make that clear because it says one of three officers involved are charged. But what he was charged for, which we're going to get into really, really quickly, was something called wanton endangerment, which is, funnily enough, probably one of the most Google terms right now. You could just throw in the WA and it pop up immediately.
Wow.
But wanton endangerment is when an individual showcases extreme indifference in regard to human life and engages in conduct that creates a high chance of death or injuries despite knowing the risks involved. A Class D felony with fines up to $10,000. One count can result in up to 5 years, as Judge O'Connell said upon announcing the charges. Hankinson wantonly shot a gun into apartments that neighbored Breonna Taylor's. It's highly worth noting that O'Connell did not indicate Hankinson had wantonly fired into Taylor's apartment specifically. And those are just some tweets. Then we get some comments from Ben Crump, the attorney for the family of Taylor, tweeted his response to the indictment shortly after it was announced. This is outrageous and offensive, he wrote. If Brett Hankinson's behavior was wanton endangerment to people in neighboring apartments, that it should have been wanton endangerment in Breonna Taylor's apartment too.
So,
in fact, it should have been rude wanton murder. Okay. And so I'll just stop there because what I'll say is also I'm not a legal expert in that way in terms of how we just talked about wanton murder. I don't know if that's an actual thing, but I understand what he was saying in terms of you have a situation where, and for me, when I first read it, I thought it was interesting in terms of the legal precedent that it was set.
mm-hmm.
Because if you're telling me that a cop or a person acting on behalf of the state has the ability to, I can say that I, came into anywhere and with the fear and all of the other things that go into like conjecture, subjectivity, and all of those gray areas,
Mm-hmm.
I could make that argument every single time, right? In terms of this was justified. She was deemed collateral damage, but the neighboring places where bullets went into, unfortunately, were the charges that were being brought, and not anything to do with the murder in the sense of itself. I just found that interesting. I know you had comments earlier in regard to the case. Did you want to speak to how you particularly feel about it in terms of how it's played out from start to now, which I think is important to give the context, as there's a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but just a lot of different variant information.
Misinformation, disinformation.
But I'll definitely, what's your take on it in terms of where we're at now with the whole Breonna Taylor situation, everything that's transpired, and moving forward?
First, I would like to say to the Breonna Taylor family that my comments are never about your actions as a family. My comments are not directed to you as a family. I pass on my condolences because, and this is where my comments came from earlier, I don't like when people take on a public tragedy as a personal tragedy.
And what do you mean by that?
And what I mean by that is that, again, we can see with the justice system, we're getting a performative racial
conversation.
Not even conversation, a racial justice act. We're getting a social justice act.
I saw the
with
act
$12 million in the settlement. And then we had the family who's going forth and asking more of the, I can't even forget, I forgot the locations. It's
Louisville, Kentucky.
Also, Louisville, Kentucky. They're asking more of Louisville, Kentucky's mayor to do more about an officer with the no-knock warrants no longer being a thing, and then it has to go to the supervisor. But it's like, okay, we all know, anyone who knows bureaucracy is like, we'll do this for a couple of months because the public forgets. If you think I'm joking, look at the NEAR Act. Try and get something on the NEAR Act, 4A in the NEAR Act, and see how much information you get. And that's where, and I don't know, it wasn't me being flippant when I ran back out the house. I wasn't being flippant when I say I don't rock with this journey. It's because people like to take on Black bodies as if they are personal losses. And what I mean by that is that the whole of America is like, oh, now I understand Black people. It's like, no, you don't understand how many Black bodies or Black women disappear before we get one on the news.
So let me say this, because I hear exactly what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to be more accurate in what you're saying in terms of what it sounds like you're articulating and getting into, is not actually liking the Breonna Taylor case or where it's at, but the response that Americans and America has given to it. And to give an example, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, in terms of how not only white people and white liberals, but how Black people commodify her name for likes, how we commodify her name to sell events, to sell movies. Oprah gave her cover up the first time ever to Breonna Taylor, which made the news, which made splash. And that is what I hear you saying and talking about versus having an actual issue with what has transpired and how, well, I guess the denotation of the case. Basically, the hard facts of the case, you don't necessarily have an issue with. Your critique right now stands with how people are responding to it, how people are spinning it for an economic value and a social capital value, and not paying tribute and homage to the other 99% of Black women and Black people in general who suffer through that.
And the reason I was saying the 99, I'm glad you said that, the Black people who suffer through that, because I really mean that. That's why I put the Tupac joint. If you saw my IG story, I really mean that. It's like, when you listen to those first two verses and you know what he means by, they tell me, what's that joint? They tell me it's a white man I should fear, but it's my own kind doing all the killing here. I can't lie, ain't no love on the other side. It's like, when you understand that I'm not safe inside of white people's imagination, nor am I safe inside of Black people's imagination. Because on one side, I'm only valuable for my labor, and on the other side, I'm only valuable unless I'm given. It's given to people. So what I'm saying is, excuse me, again, I don't like how it's being used for social economy. I don't like how it's being used for political economy. That's because 99% of that is clouding and cluttering the facts of the case. Because the facts of the case will set a precedent, and this is why I believe that the law is not being indicted, because then the law will have to indict itself. It will have to indict its own prejudice. It will have to indict its own bias. It will have to have a thorough examination of the mindset of the officer going into a no-knock warrant. And so when you have the public like, oh no, this is racial, it's like, no. Sometimes the best way to protest is with silence. Let the authority figures explain those, like, no, we know what happened. Explain to me how it happened. And then you just keep badgering them. Explain to me how this happened. Explain simple requests. These protests aren't protests. They're so fragmented. They're so, oh, I'm going to use Breonna Taylor name to get attention for my thing. I'm going to use Breonna Taylor image to get an image for my thing. It's like, why are we celebrate? We don't even celebrate black women who are alive this way. Breonna Taylor Regina King had to compete with Breonna Taylor for attention. Regina King had to use, shout out to Regina King, I love your work, always did. Had to wear Breonna Taylor's shirt to remind America what they was talking about, so that America couldn't be distracted away from the issue. So why is it that when we do have black women who are succeeding highly, why do their moment, and I'm gonna ask America this, why is it that black women that we're supposed to be protecting, when they're having their moment in the sun, they have to remind America that black women are valued? Why can't they just have their moment for them?
Because what happens is, and this is another thing about what I particularly don't necessarily care for as a whole, not just as it relates to Breonna Taylor, is how black women are being used for a lot of social capital in general.
For the performative.
You know how I dislike the whole black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And this is no shy to black women and what it is they have accomplished, as you all are accomplished. But what I encourage everybody to do is stop and think, because even in terms of this, now we're having a conversation about black women versus black men. And I think what happens is we have to talk about black people because the outcomes are the same, right? And the saddest part about the Breonna Taylor situation is that at this point in America, most people aren't shocked, right? Most people expect this outcome. Most people, especially when we saw, go ahead.
You know Fruitville Station? You know, every time I watch that movie, I cry because of a certain kinfolk we share. If you black, you have cried out. That's one reason I wanted to jump in. It's like, by the time you see this as a black person, that's why I say what I said. It's like, by the time you see this as a black person, you make it to a certain age, you're crying out.
This is true.
Somebody died, you just go, all right.
This is true.
And you go, all right, I gotta keep on going.
And I think that's the toxic nature of us, and what we'll touch in later when we get to the Tory Lanez piece. Because I think that has that has an implication on how we navigate. Because to your words, I'm the same way, and I try not to. Part of why, or what, like I told you in past, what started really messing with my brain is when I would have to go to the scene of police shootings or whatever, and I stopped feeling. You know, growing up, like you said, by the time we get 18, 20, we know as many dead as our age. And then when I was in college, personally, I stopped coming home specifically because every time I came home, it was another person dead. So I only really came home for doing internships and etc. Right? In terms of self-improvement, because I didn't want to deal with the wrath that is our community in terms of the emotional turmoil that we are constantly in. And what I realized, though, when I had to actually go to the shootings, is that in past, I was always able to disconnect to some extent. But having to walk into it, I know these people. I went to school with most of these people, and they're gone. Some of them, again, I wouldn't even say some. I would say most of them are good people and lost their way, being fair. And I'm not saying that to absolve people of the choices that they take, because you have to hold people accountable to that. But what I'm saying, that's another conversation. But what I'm saying in context into this situation is that, going back to your original point, we have all of these people who are just using her name. With the indictment coming out the way that it is, let me ask you, do you see us continuing to push forward? Because I'll get into later what I think the solution is, because that's where the ADHD comes in terms of our group.
I think I know where you're going there. I'm not gonna say it out loud, but I think I'll say this, and it's gonna be interesting on the playback. I'm gonna hand that to you. It'll be interesting on the playback, but I think we will agree. That's what I'm saying about the ADHD thing. I don't know. We haven't talked beforehand. I don't know, but I think we.
Yeah, this is very impromptu.
Yeah. So no, again with the Breonna Taylor thing, I've already said my comments to the family is not a reflection upon their actions, because I feel like everyone should get behind the family and support the family.
Or do you think, or do you think we should, instead of getting behind the family, or should we get behind people who can help the family?
This is what I mean by the family, right? Because maybe I should speak this way. I kind of speak like a comms person. I've been watching Madam Secretary, and I'm just like, I kind of understand comms. It's like when you have something on a national level like this, the only thing that matters are the symbols and the signifiers. Mm-hmm. The police officers, as they are individuals, they're signifiers for or symbols of a larger racial injustice system. So because they are protected by that system that polices the community, it's not that they don't want to punish, they don't want to prosecute these three officers. And like I said, they don't want to have the conversation about how these officers were particularly trained, or how these particular officers' mindset is when they go and police certain communities, because that would speak to the training that they received from that very institution. So I don't foresee enough public pressure for that conversation to be had. And the reason why I don't see the public pressure is because this is this news cycle. We are back into sports.
We're gonna get into that. No, we're gonna get into that tomorrow with that Julian Assange.
Yeah, go ahead. I want to really talk about
I'm sick of this shit.
The finickiness of
people.
At a certain point in time, I have, we have come in contact with a lot of people in our personal and professional lives. And in my experience, like I already know, because in taking care of people, I've already become emotionally numb to a certain degree. But a lot of people do not know how to handle uncomfortable situations. So they rather avoid the uncomfortable situation. And talking about Breonna Taylor, talking about Sandra Bland, talking about say her name. When you go from say her name to saying each individual name, and then you show each individual account, what happens with, and this is my long-winded, but I'm bringing it all back around. The reason why I don't see this lasting long in the news cycle is because it's seen as another Black incident. So it's categorizing people's mind as this is what happens in Black America. It's like, no. One, that term Black, again, is an Orientalist term. You're talking about millions of people. We're talking about hundreds of languages. We're talking about a whole geographic region when you start using the term Black. Like, you can even use the term Black for the Aborigines in Australia. You're not really saying anything. But my whole point is that Breonna Taylor is going to be swept in as just another Black woman that's been lost. And it's going to be, well, Black men didn't do anything to protect her. And then you get all of these things where you get Black America in behind closed doors, and this is where you get Shadow and Act by Ralph Ellison. You really get this whole thing of people taking on the mindset that they are the problem. What needs to happen with Breonna Taylor is that instead of Black America saying we need to do better, Black America should look towards America and say, why is it that we have to keep losing our children before you are willing to see that we hurt? The question of why is it that the system is, okay, $12 million, but what happens to the children when they're older? Do we have counseling for them? Is that a part of their treatment? It's like, we want to talk about wraparound services. Let's talk about wraparound services. What services are you providing to Breonna Taylor's legacy?
Zero. And to your point, that goes to another conversation about, I think, the demands overall that we make in these type of situations when we talk about
and her visibility long term
as well as not in vain.
I would agree.
Because what happens is we have the people like MLK, Malcolm X, and so on and so forth. People love to quote them, but they quote them a lot in vain. But when we talk about Breonna Taylor, we talk about everything that's going on right now that is highly, 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 highly important. I just posted an article about the upper middle class suffering. And so when people talk, and I wanted to say that because when people talk about middle class and upper middle, lower middle, what we as African Americans have to understand that most of us are in lower middle, if that, because most of us live beneath the poverty line, and that's just a fact. You can like it or hate it, but it is what it is. And when we talk about things like this, the reason I had said to think about definitely get behind the family. But let's, for example, the guy, Ja'Cory Arthur, who just won his election down in Louisville, Kentucky, because as you know, ADOS, Antonio Mornham, that's where they kind of are the central hub in terms of the advocacy for it, right? So they are down there.
I don't follow as well as you do. So.
Yeah, so they are basically down there in terms in that area. And if y'all want to hear the council member elect, Ja'Cory Arthur, speak to the issue, you can go over to Antonio Moore's page from ADOS, and they do a lot of good work. And then he has also Kevin Cosby, who is the owner of a church as well as a college. So you have this dynamic where people are doing the work, and you know those people who do have that economic position are the last of a dying breed. So I would say a man like Kevin Cosby in that situation is the last of a dying breed. And so my thing is, we have to begin to, and this is where we want to kind of shift gears on the conversation. We have to begin to give attention to the people who need it in this moment. Because right now, if you're watching this video, like it, share it, comment, engage, because we're going to go in tonight. Because I'm kind of sick of it, especially when we talk about the duplicitousness on black and white side. Because we done touched on the liberals and their fake wokeness when it comes to things like Breonna Taylor. And you got the elected officials out here talking about say her name and all of those different things when you are the leader. What does it mean that we're in a situation right now when we have the presidential elect and the presidential VPs and the elected officials on both sides telling us to just continue to say her name when no legislation is being passed? And we'll come back on another day to go over that Breonna Taylor's Act. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to get it while I'm up here talking. But that Breonna Taylor's Act is poo-poo. It's poo-poo. And what we have to do is shift gears in terms of what we give our attention to, who we give our attention to. And the reason that I say that is because when people are not understanding, I'm not sure if anybody, you got a chance to watch that movie? I think you told me about it.
The Social Dilemma?
The Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
And the algorithms. And you sent me, what's her name? Zelena Buff from Harvard?
You talking what it does?
Surveillance capitalism.
Yeah, that's not, you got me hit there.
What happens is, these algorithms that we're up against, you have to actively go against. And again, if you're watching it, like, share, and comment, because now we're going into Tory Lanez. Because this all wraps around when it comes back down to people asking about, oh my God, what's the solution? Oh my God, what do we do? Oh my God, what's next? Because again, like you said, I agree with you 100%. You got people out here exploiting that woman's name, which is trash and garbage.
In her image.
You got people out here doing anything. I don't care if you're a black woman. I don't care if you're a white man. I don't care if you in between that, black man, whatever. Exploiting that woman's name for likes and commodifying it through the process of media and algorithms is disgusting.
It shows no decency.
No decency.
For human life.
And I'm tired of everybody wanting to keep calling out one side or this side or that side. No, everybody right now is behaving like trash.
See, it is because there's a difference between RBG. RBG, I actually thank you to the organization that allowed me to be in her presence. She was tiny, son. When I mean tiny, she was tiny, but had a huge presence. But she was a Supreme Court justice. So her likeness and everything else is expected to be out there. It's not a tragedy that RBG has passed and moved forth. Personally, we as a nation or anybody who's an independent minded thinker then sees it. Now I'm not talking about the DNC sees it as a tragedy because now you got to get the DNC and GOP talk about which type of conservative they want to see. But that's neither here nor there. My whole point is that Breonna Taylor's likeness is not a public persona. Breonna Taylor did not live to be in the public life. So to use her likeness does again. If none of the proceeds are going towards legal defense or anything else, or going towards helping black women with health care and healthcare treatment and all the other things, then it's exploitive. It's a very exploitive behavior. The same thing with Tory Lanez. It's like, yo, I'm tired of singing rappers.
I'm tired. No. I'm tired of rappers and entertainment in general. Because before we go there, again, like the video, share it, comment, please, please. And when we open up please call in because I see the participants in the waiting room. Because right now, this is garbage. And I'm saying no. It's no. It's garbage. You want to know why? It's garbage. You want to know why it's garbage? Because everybody, 2 weeks before the trial happened, 2 weeks.
Which trial?
This Breonna Taylor trial. Mm-hmm. And everything else that's happening in the world. Everybody, oh, yeah, we need to do this. And what's next and what's that? You got Tory Lanez.
Mm-hmm. Tory Lanez.
Dropping a fucking album. Now, hold on. Before we go into it, let's give the story. Let's give a little backdrop for everybody else who ain't necessarily up to speed. So we have Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez incident occurred after and what I believe a party at Kylie Jenner's house where they were going home. It was said that Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion in the foot.
In both of you, wasn't it?
One, both. What I will say to that is, in no way, shape, or form can we validate having to shoot a woman, whether she's in uproar or whatever. You have no argument for that, sir, right? Because the whole thing now is, let me tell my side. Two, this is where I tell people, stop protecting trash.
Why is he not in jail?
I'm getting there. I'm getting it. Wait, don't interrupt me. Because you want to know what? No, because you want to know what?
But what?
This is why I tell black women and people in general, if people are trash, including myself, do not protect me. Because you want to know what that does? It sets a standard. And what I'm saying to Megan Thee Stallion is, and everybody who has a particular viewpoint on it, she needs to go through the appropriate legal process and judicial processes to bring this man to jail. Because right now, what is being done is they are using speculation and conjecture to raise their profiles. And the reason that I have an issue with that is because roping it back into Breonna Taylor, Tory Lanez, we don't need a goddamn album. Tory Lanez, we have a myriad of things going on. If people wanted to know what a solution was, a solution is having an entertainer base or an entertainment base, one who understands when and when not to speak. You should not be speaking right now if you are not necessarily speaking to the issues at hand. Two, we're going to go back down to the commodification process. Because now I got to have a week go by where you got dumb people wanting to be, what do they call it? I want to play devil's advocate. I want to play, oh, well, what if and what if that? So now a conversation is about to get dragged out for at least 3 or 4 days, which it shouldn't. Because, again, I don't even give people this. You talk about it today, if we talk about this shit tomorrow, we disgusting as a group. We disgusting as a group because what I will allow people to say, and it's the only rope I'm giving you, is that it has an effect on the image of the culture, and that is why it is important. But the way that we're having a discussion, the way that people are having a discussion right now is disgusting.
Bro, goddamn living single wouldn't make it in today's world.
It's not gross enough.
Girlfriends wouldn't make it in today's world. We at a point where people get
Girlfriends did just come back on Netflix.
It did. Like sister wouldn't even make it. Like I'm saying this because it matters. Sister was like, oh, so you gotta respect actually witty black women. So you gotta have some kind of intellect to talk to black women. I grew up with Nia Long in them in the 90s. The black women that I had crushes on as a little boy were intelligent, were witty. And I'm not going away from that because now because I want to get to what the black men weren't allowed to get away with. There were standards. As a black man, you couldn't get away with not having a job. Let's go with Tommy, son. You would get clowned for not having a job. Look at Martin. You would get clowned for that. Now it's not even now. I can't even talk trash because people don't know about John Singleton Higher Learning. I can't even talk about my love of Jim Curry from Living Color because they don't know where Living Color from, but they love J-Lo. What I mean is we're talking about people. Tory Lanez has no cultural grounding in what it means to actually have to stand up for something. Chris Brown got in trouble with Rihanna for a fist fight. Career smashed. Rihanna even came out and defended Chris and said that she had some part in the escalation of it. But again, she dropped, what is it, the R rated R? Rated R? She dropped that after that incident. So it was good girl gone bad after that incident. My thing is, and how that relates is that was a fist fight. Why are we at the point where now a woman has to get shot for her to have some street cred? Because that's what I feel like the marketing for most of these albums are. Is that we're going to act like it's fake beef because people in the suburbs who actually buy this doesn't know what beef really looks like, doesn't know that someone is actually beefing. They don't want no cameras nowhere near. And if they actually beefing, if you're not about that life, then you don't know the conversation. You got to actually be in the situation with someone to know what the hell is going down because loose lips sink ships. But protecting Tory Lanez is like at this point in time, so we're going to allow for the baby in them to get away with shit. We're gonna allow Tory Lanez to get away with shit, but we can't allow a black dude can't get pulled over. So it's okay for us to protect black entertainers, including R. Skelly. It's okay to protect them, but the average black man, because he a scrub, it's okay for him to get shot. So we're gonna raise hell because Megan Thee Stallion got shot. And she's protecting Tory Lanez, but we want to protest her getting shot by the police, and that's what makes it credible about where y'all focus at. Where's your focus? Because if we want to allow these black rap entertainers to keep going in and out of the judicial system, but we can't get people who were arrested for non-violent offenses because of marijuana charges, I don't give a damn about these rappers. I don't. I really don't care about Tory Lanez, and this is why I don't care about him. If we're going to make the standard that as long as you entertain me, I'm willing to back you, then I don't care anymore. Whoo! Because it's go ahead.
Wait, because you just said a lot there.
As long as you want to entertain me.
The standard is, right now in the black community, niggas just went ham because Kamala Harris wore Timberlands and Chucks, right? Now, the standard in the black community is the fact that if you entertain me,
I'll back you.
I will back you, and not only will I back you, I will absolve you of all other responsibilities that pertain to the civic engagement duties that we require of any leader in any group. And let me give an example.
Well, before you say that though, Plies actually do those things. I'm listening.
There are a few people who do those things, but what I am saying is that they're not required. They're not required by the group. They're not prioritized by the group. See, it's one thing that you have people who are acting in good faith and saying, you know what, let me do this because it's good for the group. The group don't give a fuck about that though. Because when they come down to it, the group cares about, again, are you not entertained? They want to say, on one hand, what's the solution? Like I tell people, we did a whole episode about sports. Matter of fact, fellas, boys, you're going to have to give up the sports. And I'm about to tell you why you're going to have to give up the sports. You weak ass niggas. Because we going to do it today, right? Mm-hmm. Because in the end, I'm sick and tired of people who want a particular outcome but don't want to sacrifice anything.
They want comfort.
More than comfort. They want their dope. And what do I mean by that? They want their hit. A jolly, dolly. Because on one hand, I got men walking around talking about, oh, white supremacy this, white supremacy that. Oh, we can't do this, and this shit's some bullshit, son. Oh, you know what I'm saying? La. Shut your mouth. No. Shut your goddamn mouth. I'm sick of it. Because when sports came back on, it's one thing, I will give it to people. It's one thing to not move on conjecture and say that we believe that an institution is racist and that we believe that an institution is working against our interests. But motherfucker, the NFL and the NBA has shown themselves. They have shown their hands, and we continue to watch. Not we, I don't watch. Y'all continue to watch, but then you want to talk about white supremacy. Well, guess what? This is how markets work. Because I'm really getting sick of people because it's not really that difficult to understand. Ratings matter. You want to know why ratings matter? Ratings matter because those are ad dollars. Those are dollars in terms of bodies in seats. So when you talk to me about, oh my God, Trump is so bad, oh my God, shut your bitch ass up. You wanna know why? Because not only is it about markets, it's about relationships. And guess who's cool with the cool people at the top? Do I have to say it? The cool people at the top. So when you watch that and they get revenue off of all of that, guess what? I'm going to give it to my man Quenton. What? Because you in the back? Matter of fact, hold on. Who going to be the slut? I'll be the slut.
No, let me be the slut. Okay. Be the slut.
You the slut. You on camera. You doing all that peacock stuff. You doing all that talking. Guess what? I don't say anything. I sit behind closed doors. I entertain you niggas. And you know what happens? You know what? I hate Quenton. You're trash. You're a fat bum. I hate you. I hate your hoodies, your fucking Yeezys. I don't like any of it. But guess what? Behind closed doors, you know what? I fuck with them. Hey, I fuck with them Yeezys, bro.
They're nice, aren't they?
Hey, how much you want for this check, man?
No,
Hey, hold on, no. Because you the Roman games, we gonna give you a discount.
Okay.
All right, you made us 4 billion. All right, cool. All right, I give you 10 million off for it, just for your campaign. All right, cool. Deal.
10. As long as I get to keep 5 and fuck everybody else on the budget, and as long as you tell people you gave me 5 for the budget and I keep 5 for myself, I'm with it.
What policy I'm getting?
Huh?
What policy I'm getting? You hold on. You want more of my money? What you telling me?
What I'm telling you is that out of that 10 million, 5 is for me.
5 for you?
5, you want to have to pay somebody to hide some shit and act like it's for other people. Because I don't care about people. They don't care about me. As long as I entertain them. Now, what is it that you need for me to do? And I'll see if I can do it.
All right, this is what I need for you to go out, cause mass hysteria, right? We got to sell this whole existential crisis thing, right?
On which front?
On the front that it's going to make me money in the sense that people have to be able to find some type of comfort in the pandemic and all of the different variables and all of the different economic things that are going. So, with that being said, I got you covered on the back end. We'll get them the entertainment. We'll get them that. But we need policy on the back end to be able to do regulate some things, sir. That means that this the despite that they having over here for the likeness of players, they have gained some ground on us. But I need you to come in there and throw a monkey wrench in there. We can give them we can let them keep what they got. But
so
feel me? You catch my drift.
Let me think. I got you something. What you want me to do is be the fairy godmother and send them to the ball with a chariot, but when they come out, it's actually a pumpkin. When we trick Cinderella, because you know these poverty people don't know what they actually getting. You just said mayhem. You got me at mayhem. I might do it for the low. Well, what happened now?
No, I'm about to give him the call in. But you can go ahead.
No, I'm serious. How do you want this done? Now, you see that we went into this whole little diatribe, but here's how it's not a joke. What you're really asking for is accountability on the behalf of people who use white supremacy as an excuse to be neglectful in their civic duties. And that's where you and I have probably butt heads when I say, like, nah, son, these niggas, they don't have my respect. Because how you gonna say I wanna lead, but when I go inside these education spaces, they're like, it's hard to get black men. It's like, son, I'm a knucklehead. Why do people want me? I'm Dennis Rodman of the whole Bulls team. I go on wild things. But it's because I personally have seen, and I am on record, on how socially it's so hard to get some young black men to understand the consistency that is needed for a result. And so they don't understand the lifestyle. They don't understand what they want is a lifestyle. And they don't want anyone who wants to tell them that it's a lifestyle, that it is a lifestyle. Because, like, you hold me back from what it is I dream. It's like, one thing you have to understand is that you cannot have everything you want all at the same time. If I'm telling you.
Rarely ever. Because and this is the hard part about life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had to learn this. Everybody, you see my head, right? You see how I dress. You see how I move. People respect it, right? But I'm not naive to believe that what I am doing in terms of my physical image removes me from certain conversations in terms of matriculation. But what we as men have to begin understanding is that it comes with a consequence and a price, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know me, I got Calm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is my son, 5 years old. He can say and do as he please when we engage and interact, but he understands that certain things comes with a consequence and certain things do not. Sometimes he's willing to go and do something that I may not agree with because he's willing to live with the consequence that has been set in place for that. And I don't necessarily infringe on that because what I think on the flip side of that is a lot of black men have been so bogged down with not being perfect and being human and making mistakes is that we don't necessarily want to take the risk.
Yeah,
That our social is very risk adverse. And so it's a catch-22. And to keep it on Tory Lanez and to keep it on because the Tory Lanez and the attention deficit all feeds back into itself because I can't do this no more. We gotta get up out of this because what we know is that time is of the essence. No, that's true.
Yeah, legal. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I just respond.
That's something. No, you understand. That's something that I have to come to terms with. As you know me, I'm a person.
Yeah.
I like to save people, as many people as I feel like I can. And it has been said to me time and again. And I'm trying to prove a certain subsect of people wrong. I'm trying to get them to at least for y'all to get to the point where people are like, all right, cool, man, they worth saving. Right now, y'all not helping me with my case. Y'all out here on Tory Lanez when we got Breonna Taylor, eviction crisis. No.
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna stand up on this. Go ahead, finish.
We got eviction crisis. We got cities strapped for cash. We got the upper middle, hurt. We got reports talking about we've done financially, economically as a group, as African Americans by 2050.
Mm-hmm.
We have no policy concessions right now from any politician in terms of how we're going to address that. Why the hell, again, Megan Thee Stallion, if he shot you, take that man to court.
Take him.
Please, get him off the streets. It's whack. It's terrible. We not having that shit. Because black men, we got to clean up our image too. And that means setting the standard. Again, you know me. I say all of the time, I'm not going to critique Lil Tone in the open because I know it's niggas on Capitol Hill who doing people over greasy. Mm-hmm. But what I am going to say is, Lil Tone, I need you to help me help you, brother. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Because again, I don't like that it's based on narrative. I don't like that it's based on a lot of things, but that is the game that we are given. And I need people to understand that, yo, the time is now. The narrative is collapsing. This is our last shot in putting the dagger in the nation that we say we want to see collapse. Let's go. And Tory Lanez is not the topic that we need to be on. I rebuke it.
Okay, you're totally right. And the reason I stood up is it's like, no, I want you to stamp this for the whole world to see, or whoever cares to see. You know the type of, I should say, people I entertain intimately. Mm-hmm. Have I not had my cake for those? Right? Have I not tried my best with that? The lightweight machine guns and all the rest of them. I've been trying to save them. I haven't been listening to Project Pat, have I? This nigga is in his phone.
No, I'm listening.
No, I'm just asking you. I'm seriously, I'm asking you because I'm resting my case with this. Have I not tried to save them?
You have.
Okay.
And I just asked for you to do more.
Okay.
Because I understand that your narrative, and this is where I come in, and what I say to that is, it takes both sides of the coin. And the reason why I wanted to do this specifically with you and other people who may not necessarily be connected to the community in all of the same ways that I am. what I want people, or what I need the whole community to do, is be humanized from different angles.
Yes.
Because I see, or I would say at least in my experiences, growing up in and around it and being able to move out of it, is that everybody in all different areas of blackness, or quote unquote, even just when you talk about African Americans,
Yeah.
have a thing for the person outside of outside of our own silos, and we have to get rid of
I want to get that, the vulnerability thing. You know, son, you know, I got a whole different. I don't have a car because of being too vulnerable, and that's where I'm at with it. You dudes take advantage of it, right? So this is what happens when you let the Tory Lanez go out and do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
You run into, oh, you're not like the typical black guy. You're not the same black guy. So what happens is they take advantage of the generosity. They take advantage of, like, I know these dudes are trash. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna play it this way. I'm gonna let it go. But they think it's supposed to be in perpetuity. Like, I'm supposed to pay gratitude to their presence. And it's like, bro, that's disrespectful because you don't know how much energy it takes to have and be in education spaces and white spaces where you're constantly being told and have this parental tone told to you how you should treat black women, although these people do not treat black women with the respect and reverence in which they say they do, or you should.
Do not.
They act like black men are the only men who have sex with black women, and thus be the only men interested in protecting black women. They act like, and then when you get to the black men on the outside, it's like, well, your boys aren't here to help you. And Kevin Samuels talked about it the other night. It's like, yes, they aren't here because they'd rather go be playing FIFA or Madden because dudes don't play FIFA. They'd rather be playing Madden.
Or
so
2K.
You out here by yourself. I'm out here by myself.
And I want somebody, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I please want dudes who disagree with what I'm saying to call in. Because right now, we're at a stage where, come on, let's separate who's who. Because what happens is a lot of the time. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good. My point is that we talking about be more patient. I can't afford to be more patient. Not only with my money, but with my heart. I can't afford for someone to keep being cold, callous, and emotionally unavailable because they allowed someone into their life that could repeatedly show them that they did not care. And that's the dudes on the other side too. It's like, y'all, if you got a young person in your life or a person in the presence in your life that's draining you, but so draining you so much that you need someone else's energy to make you feel better, it's your fault for allowing someone to keep draining you that you become a vampire yourself and go drain somebody else's energy. I don't want to be that person in my support system that I'm out here being emotionally reckless because it's like, yeah, I'm going to see if she's going to figure it out. Like, I can't afford to keep waiting for them to figure it out. Like, look, when you want to jump in economic class, your life changes.
Because it's lifestyle. What I always took, even when.
Yes. But they don't want to hear that. It takes too long for them people to understand. I have to commit now to uncertainty and have to keep running with uncertainty. People want to be middle class. People want to be affluent. It's nothing more than dealing with uncertainty. You can't handle risk. You can't maintain risk and mediate risk. Then I don't have patience no more. I'm sorry. That's all.
No, you good. Because I understand where you come from. And you know me. Part of my thing is I'm always going to say, yo, I get it, but we can't win without the collective. Because like you said, being in those spaces, we both been in those spaces, and we know what it comes down to. I personally, I can mentally fathom being in an environment where I'm recluse, ideologically and mentally, where I'm just going through the motions of having to do what's necessary to, like you said, maintain the life. But I don't want to be like that. I would, and this is me being completely purely honest and vulnerable to an extent that I know how to play the game, but I don't want to play it without people who look like me because I know the leverage that comes with playing it with people who look like me. And this is why I'm telling y'all, look, like the video, share the video, comment, engage with us, because people select leaders. You know how I move. You'll never hear me call myself a leader or anything like that. And I always say it's because that's a moniker that people have to throw onto you. People call me a general. I mean, I like it because that's my aesthetic. That's how I move as a person. But you'll never hear me walking around calling myself a general. And that's because those type of things are earned.
Mm-hmm.
And people have to feel that way about me. But what I will say is that when it comes down to the attention, when it comes down to the ADHD, we have to be focused. And I'm not saying that we have to be singular focused. Look, if you're an attorney, man, do your legal shit. Do that. Be about that life. If you want your political shit, do that. Be about that life. If you are an artist and a creative, do that and be about that life. But let's get some cohesiveness to the group. Let's get some understanding of like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever industry you're in, African American people, we moving that way. That's what I need. I don't necessarily care. You do your academic stuff, and we go back and forth all the time. You can't have your industry until we tame these heathen politicos. That's an ongoing debate. Mm-hmm. As we will discuss tomorrow, the Julian Assange case. That is another attack on not just journalism, but academics as well as everybody else.
Anyone who's interested in the truth.
Anyone.
Or seeking it.
Anyone. And as a politico, this is what I need other people to understand is the politicos in your spaces and in your faces, whether they already elected, whether they not elected, you have to pay them reverence because those are a lot of people. I don't give to emotion in a lot of ways in that way. And I don't care about the morality that people, like this whole moral high ground that people are chasing. I don't care about it. Because in the end, when it comes down to the society, when it comes down to media, when it comes down to Tory Lanez and how all of these institutions move, mm-hmm. It's about commodifying something. And that has nothing to do with the moral implications, because the moral implications and the moral way to move in and about the situation is if you are Tory Lanez or if you are any other person who has the power to galvanize people by millions at a time, you do not take your individual circumstances and amplify those to the point where they engulf the issues and values of the collective, especially when we're in a moment like we're in. Yeah. You got the CDC. The CDC had to come and put extra parameters in place, not electeds, because we are dealing with something completely different. And we had this dude who had ample time, mind you, to come out and have this conversation in between Megan Thee Stallion saying what she said. Could have been said this shit, Tory Lanez. This is pussy. And I hope that he gets exiled from the industry the same way Tekashi 6ix9ine should have. But again, that's the state of the community. And I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of it because everybody, and I've seen girls even fucking talking about they going. Women, hey, ladies, fucking ladies, man, do better. The only way y'all gonna get better niggas is if y'all hold niggas to better standards. The men who do what they're supposed to do, y'all gonna have to put them on the pedestal because guess what? At the core, men do what they think women want because we move in society, and let's be honest, every man wants a woman. Whether you want 4, 5, 10 of them, you at least want. Let me not say that. Not want a woman. They want a partner.
A companionship.
A companion, right? Yeah. We have to shift paradigms actively. We have to dig into what people are manipulating to our subconscious, but actively go against that. Like, we can't say, yeah, oh shit, Tory Lanez dropped a new album. Let me go check that out because he's talking some shit. Like, even with this Davy Ruffin and Glizzy beef, come on, man. Let that man create his path. Because those gonna be the same people who talking about, oh, we got gentrified, we got this, we got that. Man, shut the fuck up. And please, please bring, because don't nobody care about you niggas. If you really want to have a political, all that fake laughter and Google Gaga shit, we passed that, man.
You're asking for maturity.
I'm asking for maturity, and that's not a lie.
Do you know how much I get yelled at?
Damn.
You know how much y'all yell at me for maturity? It's like, bro, I need people to read. Like, yeah, bro, people don't read. It's like, bro, I get where you're coming from. This isn't me playing devil advocate. This is me going like, yeah, you know how long I've been asking, praying, begging for maturity. I need people who understand 30 is 30. You got boomers who say, well, you're just adult kids. It's like, no, I'm not an adult child. I am an adult.
I'm an adult.
Who's forced to live the life of a child economically because there's no space for me. But then you got people who like, oh, they saying that they use adulting. They use anything to avoid accountability. We talk about responsibility. Like Kurt Keys.
Shout out to Kurt.
Shout out to Kurt. Because you the one that got me hip to the ad about the strippers to get black men out the vote.
Oh, I saw that joke.
I was
get your booty to the pole.
I was disrespected to the highest. It's like, if we gotta put strippers in front of you just to tell you to vote, but your ass has been the one that's been arrested since you got off the damn plantation, I'm leaving you. Harriet Tubman left slaves. Why can't I leave niggas? No, I'm serious now. If we gotta literally, because you're not in this space where you got a white guy who's laughing at you because he's right. The nigga's right. They gotta put strippers in an ad to get you to vote.
Ooh, so you're speaking to the duality of how marketing may be disrespectful, but applicable and effective.
Exactly. Ooh. But then you can't. I get excused from the room as the bougie Negro because I'm sitting here going like, that's disrespectful. Like, no, son, that's funny. So okay, since it's so goddamn funny, how about this? Let's make the ad a feminist ad. Let's have a true conversation. I'll be the dude sitting down with the wings, telling, not even calling the stripper. I'm gonna say, hey, fantasy provider, because that's what she really is. She's providing you a fantasy provider, fantasy facilitator. I'll give you some tips after this. I hope you got cash out. I don't carry money, but these wings are nice. And while that's happening, I'm talking to you, my friend, my black guy, my Negro, my brother, my 5 on the black hand side. I'm so black, man, the man keep me down. Man, that ad made so much sense, son. It got me to pay attention. So, okay, you're paying attention to the fantasy provider now, right? Let's talk about how that woman or that provider may have a family at home, but they don't have the healthcare system that allows them to take care of that family. So, because they don't have a healthcare system that allows them to take care of that family, and we have a lot of, within the group, black women who are relegated to being nothing but fantasy providers, although we know the trek of black women know that they have contributed intellectually, physically, and I mean absolutely physically to a level black men can never understand. Once you understand what that word increase means, in the antebellum, it's like they literally thought that black women was a printing press. That her vagina and womb, uterus, was to make money.
They got commodified.
And then her breast was to feed them. And then she was to be told.
No, not they thought they did
it. Then she was told she was a bad mother because she didn't take care. And then you disrespect her by saying, yeah, son, this ad is nice, but you won't give that woman wages. You won't give that woman, you staring at her to go to the poll. You won't give her wages. You won't give her health insurance. You won't give her paid leave. All because we need to help black men. But we all started black boys. So if we're not caring about black boys that's at home with black women, then we don't give a fuck about either. If you don't care about a black woman enough to care about her kids that don't belong to you, then you don't care. then get out my face when I'm sipping my cocktail outside of my martini glass or my coupe, because I love my coupes. And then I got my friends around me who may not look like me or may not look like you. And you go, oh, nigga, you bougie. No, I'm not bougie. I earned. I'm not a +1. I got an invite. So that means that I earned my way here. More importantly, I'm no longer defending you because you have shown me that the only thing you care about is your pleasure. And the only thing you care about is your pleasure. So since that's the only thing you care about, hold on, I don't get there. Since the only thing you care about is your pleasure, the only thing you're willing to read is what pleases you, the only thing you're willing to watch is what pleases you, it pleases me when you're removed from the economic field, so I don't have to explain your behavior to anyone no more because you don't have the vocabulary or the lexicon to explain yourself. But you want to say that you got a 6-figure job so you can say, I got bitches. I drive foreign. That was played out when I was 17. Been there, done that. And guess what? You treat it just like an exotic toy the same way black women are treated like an exotic toy. So I'm not impressed. I'm tired of grown ass men in their 40s riding around blasting rap that I don't even listen to. It's time to grow up.
Time to grow up.
I'm sorry when I tried.
No, you good, fam. Because in the end, man, it is a very precarious situation that we are in right now. And we're going to have to take some risks, take some stances, because in the end, our group historically has been through garbage and it has created garbage.
You was going to agree about ADHD. I knew it was.
No, I mean, ADHD, because the thing is, man, you know me, I'm about attention and focus. I don't come from a lot of shit. I never had a lot of resources, but focus puts anybody over the edge.
But you don't understand how valuable that is.
No, I do.
Do you? Because I need people, and this is where it pisses me off with people. A lot of people.
I do. That's why I preach it.
Yeah, I get you, but I had to go here because it pisses me off with a lot of people, especially a lot of young women. Like, oh, she got better than me. She got more than me. And that goes back to the shame and guilt and why we can't move forward in the hood. It's because a lot of people got shame and guilt. A lot of people aren't willing to be vulnerable because they have been shamed as kids. They have been toned down as kids. And they looking at me and it's just like, yo, you do what you want. It's like, yo, I've had enough conversations with enough people to know that everybody's hiding something from someone. So we got to be in a space, and we're going to talk about this at another time, but we got to be in a space where we can be vulnerable with each other. But
the gender truce.
Yeah.
We need it. Woo-hoo. This gender beef stuff is not cool, man.
But
this is politics, and politics, the first institution is the family.
It is the family.
Without the family, we can't do shit. We can't do nothing. If y'all want solutions, we can't do nothing if the family not intact, man. Look, and not to cut you off.
No, cut me off. Conversations are jazz.
I don't necessarily mind people going to have beef, people going to have their dislikes, man. But when it comes down to that black family, we need to get that shit together. And that's within our own family. You know me, I'm always critiquing, Black families have to come together singularly to set a standard, and then collectively we can set a standard.
Community.
This is about a collective. This is not about one individual person. And again, I say like the video, share the video, and comment and all of that. But again, we got Yvette Cardell, you got people, you got somebody who you want to shout out, bro. Because in the end, the point I'm trying to make is it's not just us. It's a bunch of people who I need people to really lift up, because there are tons of people. I hate hearing people say, oh, where's the new X? Where's the new king? It's a bunch of motherfuckers just in the cut waiting to be elevated, because again, you have to be chosen as a leader.
I get you.
But the attention span is on Tory Lanez.
We gotta leave them behind.
You right.
And
we gotta leave them behind, but how do you gain? I'll ask you this. In leaving them behind, because we had this conversation all the time, in leaving them behind, how do we gain our leverage?
How many people out here are fake street because they want to be visible? How many people out here, how many sophisticated ratchets are there? Sophisticated ratchets.
Not really many. Like true ratchets, you know.
No, they're not true ratchets. Man, a true ratchet, a real ratchet is more like a thug for real.
A real ratchet understand life.
A real ratchet is more like a thug. She's a ready. I'm talking about the fake sophisticated ratchet, the cultural sophisticated ratchets.
Got you.
Yeah, the Megan Thee Stallion audience. It has to, and this is what I always come down to. It has to be a public space with an average black person. What I mean by average, those who have average ambitions. I would like to have a family. I would like to have a car. I would like to have a house. They have a space in which they can socialize without the riffraff. It has to be to a certain point. What do you mean by the riffraff? I don't mean the ones, we all know who's a real nigga. We all know who's about their life. Anyone who's about their life don't want that. They don't want the riffraff and the drama chasing them. They want to relax too. The riffraff is the fake niggas. The riffraff is I got a gun niggas. The riffraff is I'm going, ooh, I didn't know you had that. Ooh. The riffraff is, oh, I ain't gonna let that bitch talk to me. Ain't no type of way, motherfuckers. The ones that don't know how to de-escalate.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Niggas de-escalate.
We de-escalate. You gotta de-escalate because you got shit to risk. I'm talking about the people that got the 9 to 5, but they act like they on the block. We don't need that. We need to be in a space where it's like, bro, chill. We understand people go through difficult situations. We understand that everybody's home life ain't what they make it to be. We understand those things. Oh, just do what you do. We understand those things. That's enough. Thank you. I can feel it by the way. We understand those things. But I know, and you already know, I'm combative, I'm confrontational, but as part of me being protective because I understand the value of protecting a young person. We don't need our babies, our kids, understanding racism through brutality. We need to build them up first to say you are valuable because, like Viola Davis, you are smart, you are kind. We need to build in them, you are beautiful because you say you are beautiful. You are amazing because have you seen your smile recently? They need to look at themselves first and go, I'm fucking fantastic. So when they embrace racism, like, oh shit. So racism is that people hate me because I'm dark? Well, you mad because my skin don't wrinkle like yours. And that's how you emotionally get kids who are strong enough to combat the world that's going to isolate them and treat them like they are nothing. Is by first building into them value.
I agree. And that's because
you gotta build value into them. It's like, I love you. Even I don't have no kids, but I do this because even if I want kids, not to cut you off, even if I want kids, I can't always and I won't always be their influence. So I want them to go out into the world and find people that I'm comfortable with them being around, but more importantly, their kids are comfortable being around because it's time for us as adults to be adults. It ain't their battle. It's our battle. I'm going to talk shit to you while I'm going to feed your child. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to talk shit to you while I feed your child. I'm going to say it the third time. I'm going to talk shit to you while I feed your child. The beef ain't between them.
I can think you Dr. Umar.
No, I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you got to.
No, he be repeating.
You got to, son. You got to. I want people to know, it's like, my beef is with your ass. The kids don't need to know about this shit.
No, they don't.
It's between you and I. They don't need to know that we struggling on the front.
Part of the problem is kids grow up too fast in the hood.
They do. Like, no, son, we beefing with each other. We don't necessarily like each other right now, but they hungry. They eating. They satisfied. What they doing now? They playing. That's when the core and respecting you come in. That's when you understand it. Because as men, we can be angry. We know how to be angry. Some of us like to be angry to justify our behaviors and our violent acts. So you know when a woman's she doesn't like an idea because she's shutting down, she's getting frazzled, and you keep poking, and you keep poking, and you keep poking, and then she just goes off because you have literally harassed her to the point that she's going off. Any man who isn't self-aware that you do that because you want to be condescending, because you kind of want to piss her off, because you're pissed off, you're not self-aware enough. Get that emotional intelligence. We need it. But the point is that if you know that a certain topic is going to go a certain way, and I'm making that my responsibility. It's my responsibility now to tell certain people, you don't read enough for me to have that discussion with you.
No, that's
You are not, and we need to tell each other, like, no, you aren't competent enough to have this discussion. Your opinion isn't valid because you don't even make a logical statement. You gotta get to the point, like, no, nigga, that's fucking dumb.
and
Stop talking.
Fair, y'all took me a minute to get here because I tried to have a conversation with everybody. But
y'all calling me bullshit.
Hey,
call me an uppity nigga.
Because my biggest issue with that dynamic is that people will, let's use politics for an example, right? People will say, oh, I don't do the politics, or, oh, yeah, I don't, read up on that and do this and do that, And I have my colleagues who I respect in terms of their mental capacity to carry out, not only execute, but understand how these systems and mechanizations work.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I don't feel like politicals get enough respect in the sense that we aren't dumb people. I think everybody just thinks that we're just dumb, corrupt people. But it's like, you can't say you're not well versed in something, but then when that person from that industry comes in to tell you something, you rebuke it immediately. And I think when you talk about immaturity and you talk about the conversations that have to be had and the bridges that have to be built, I'm going to say it a million times over, is that I know being overly political can be a thing, but the fact that we don't deal with politics at all, unless it's trending topic, is pretty dangerous.
That's being nice. It's infantile. It's infantile. It's absolutely childish. And I'm not saying that to be parental. It's childish because in America, everything is political. In America, a job title is being on someone's budget. In America, we don't have this. How can I say this? We don't have this binding identity. You have a binding myth, but not a binding identity. And so what I mean by it's childish is that it's childish to allow your child to think that the economy is this place in which you have white people who you just have this great white family that just decides that who can you make money, who don't. You don't pay attention to one within white culture. You have WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You have what you call the white ethnics, the Irish and the Germans and the Italians. Then you have European white, Scandinavian, Nordic, and all those other things. Finland. It's like, again, if I say that black is Oriental as a term, so is white. But what I'm getting down to is that if we don't have an institutional understanding of things, and you don't understand that politicians are really public CEOs, in the sense that politicians decide the vision and make decisions based upon a vision. But what politicians do is based upon socially. You guys' jobs are very social, but people don't give you that respect because people don't respect their doctors. How many people go to the doctor and tell the doctor what the doctor is wrong about? How many people disrespect lawyers?
Yeah.
There's something about the American entitlement. It's like, yo, I know I'm American, but goddamn, the entitlement is real. It's like,
off the hinges.
That's why when people talk about Trump,
I'm like, son, y'all got more in common with that man than you don't. You think you don't because he do it openly, but that's part of the problem is because y'all covert trash. Y'all behind the scenes trash.
You say covert, you know me, I get confused real quickly. Like, where's the covert at?
I say covert. I say covert because, and I'll speak on the behalf our group,
Mm-hmm.
and us being African Americans, I think we get easily duped into rhetoric and aesthetics and not the reality of what things are. And I think that's our biggest deficit in terms of how we navigate life. Because again, I don't have anything against black women. My biggest critique of black women is that, son, divest from all these weak ass coalitions who don't protect y'all.
Yeah,
because when we talk about these coalitions, and we talk about Breonna Taylor, and we talk about everything that has happened and transpired in 2020 up until now, we have to get into and talk about the shit that people didn't necessarily do. The shit that people didn't bring to the front. Because again, the whole point of building coalitions is to access your social capital and your relationships and leverage those relationships. And I'm hoping that Biden wins, like I told you, so that we can have a real conversation about policy over party, because I don't think that he has anything to offer.
Are you saying bipartisanship?
No.
I was about to say.
Only thing about partisan in America is racism. Everything else,
money, but that is racism.
Exactly. Racism.
And sexism.
All of those things are money.
Yeah.
It's commodified down to the tippy top. And what happens is, I need us to see through that and flip the commodification.
I get you. I'm just making faces because I'm thinking about a number of different things. I'm listening.
And I think what we have to do in terms and in sense of that is really get down to, again, I know people will refer to us as elitists and things of that nature, but the standard is the first thing. I believe that we have to. Now you good. The standard is the first thing. We have to, put people in an alignment where we aren't necessarily going down a path of destruction. And what I mean by that is, a lot of the things that we were taught, a lot of the things that we were raised on as African Americans in terms of being raised, if you take into consideration that this is an oppressive environment, we've been raised to self-destruct. So with that being said, we have to acknowledge that and move accordingly. And a lot of the times I talk about, what's up, Captain? A lot of the times I talk about, faith, and I talk about hope, and I talk about losing those things in the sense that they aren't necessarily healthy. And what I mean by that is, we have to begin to take hope out of others and put hope into ourselves. We have to move into a space where hope is an internal drive, where we are moving not based on the falsehoods given to us by the United States of America, because we see the contradictory behavior and outcomes. I'm not saying don't have your individual people. It's individual white people that's cool. It's individual immigrants that's cool. But what I'm saying is, collectively, man, we have to get on the same page as African Americans. And if a person is an ally, they understand that they're being held to a standard, because people from other communities will hold you to a standard in terms of being an ally. When you look at a Nick Cannon, when you look at all of these things that transpire when people have to come out and apologize, that is the standard set on them by the coalition that they have put themselves into. And that coalition then comes out and says, you out of line. I need you to step back in. And what I'm saying to African Americans is that we got to get on that same shit, man. That, nah, y'all talking about reparations ain't cool. No, we on reparations all day, every day. Because it's reparations or nothing. Because guess what? Your imperialism, your bad foreign policy, your commodifying the bottom caste, it's all going to produce the same outcomes. And again, I jokingly say stuff. I don't really be serious most of the time. But again, for all my immigrants, I love y'all. But if y'all don't side with us on this one, y'all next. Get the lube ready. And I'm not saying it as a person who hates y'all. I understand this. I understand the psychology of self-interest and surviving. Trust me, I'm a nigga who come from Southeast DC, ain't got shit really. And I'm just telling you, my people done had these arguments. What we gonna cover? The Atlanta debate? W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T? It's the same shit y'all going through, cuz. It's nothing different. I'm just trying to get y'all hip to help all of us not get played in the same way that the Irish got played, in the same way that the Jewish got played, in the same way that every white ethnic Nigerian, Senegalese has gotten played. Super played.
To me, that wraps it. For me, one, because the dog out there limping, her foot
She
messed
okay?
up. No, her foot messed up. But she alright. But no, beyond that.
You got any last, I'll put it like this, you got any last words in terms of all of everything we discussed?
My last words will be only to the Breonna Taylor family, for real. I hope you all are doing well as you can be. I hope that in this media blitz, as you are finding a new way to live with the absence of your loved one, that you, in some time in the future, can find solitude and solace within yourself. I hope that for you. As far as everything else, we are living in a time in which it's about the individual and the individual committing to the community and how the individual commits to the community. We understand that no man is an island, to quote John Donne, but we also understand we all have our individual needs. And for me, that comes down to a point of how vulnerable are you willing to be with others and transparent for the respect and space you're asking for. If you aren't willing to trust other people, then I think it's unfair to ask people to trust you.
Whew! A motherfucking word that I need to sit on my goddamn self. If you aren't willing to trust people, who are you to ask people to trust you? Whew. And what all I'm going to do and say to that is, people, let's not have ADHD. Let's get back focused. We got a bunch of shit going on, man. A bunch of shit. I don't have all the solutions. I got a lot of answers. I got a lot of things I would love to discuss and put in front of and put on the table for people. But that comes with, again, liking the video, sharing it, commenting. Because don't nobody care about nobody without no people behind them. That's the American way. I only want millions of followers just to put our collective issues on the table. I'm just trying to make a move so we can go away and be regular. I want to be regular. Have an editorial, dressed all cool and shit in my camo. I want to do this for the rest of my life. at all. I do politics because politics is necessary, baby. I do that because that's what family is about. If you are my family and you listening, shout out to All Verb No Convo. That's my man. We at the end of this. You see the what? Bucket hat? It's not a bucket hat. This is a visor hat. It's a visor hat. Shout out. Check out my man, Boom. You know, he got his IG. And I would love to say to everybody, thank you for joining us. We appreciate y'all for coming out, especially on a Friday night. We just want to have a conversation. We're trying to spread the conversation. And I would just ask everybody to help us do that in the end, you know, because this one was a touchier one because again the Breonna Taylor situation is a sad one, especially on both sides when you talk about her image being used by liberals who don't give a fuck, and then our people who want to be liberals who don't give a fuck. It's disgusting. Just disgusting. And I thank everybody who came out to join us in this very impromptu conversation because I think it's needed and I would love to extend it. And with that being said, we can have a conversation offline in the thread. We enjoy y'all. It's 9:15. We on our libations. Drink y'all libations. In the words of Yvette Cornell. And we'll catch y'all again tomorrow. We are still on for the regularly scheduled content. Julian Assange and the media and the future of media and the paywall strategy and all of the trash that is America. And we'll be back again. Thank you. Inquisitive Q, right on time, better late than never, motherfucker. And we out. We catch y'all again.